Hey, what's going on, guys? This is HolliwoodKole, just giving you guys a heads up. If you have not seen the movie Ready Player One nor read the book, turn the podcast off right now because this contains some major spoilers. Otherwise, enjoy. Welcome back, everybody, to another HnK video game experience. We're glad you could join us. This is HolliwoodKole, your host, along with Kleerfyre. Also
guess my name there, huh?
No, I like to drag it out, make it real dramatic, man. It makes it say Kleerfyre. I'm trying to pronounce the Y in the fire part correctly.
It's easy. It's just fire.
It's just like fire. I see. Okay. So anyway, welcome back, guys, and we are going to do a little bit of discussion about Ready Player One, the movie, and I've read the book. You hadn't read the book, have you?
I haven't read the book yet. I think I'm going to get it on tape and listen to it while I'm driving back and forth. So
the book is really good. I recommend the book. So we're going to kind of do a little bit of comparisons. I read the book maybe 2 months ago or so, and so I'll try to remember as much as I can. And saw the movie a weekend ago with my wife, and she didn't read the book. She started reading the book. She's got some opinions about it and about the movie as well. So, and I did a quick little, smooth ramblings, like maybe 30 seconds about it. And even after I did that, I was like, I wish I would have got into it a little bit more. But this is a perfect chance to get two perspectives on it, and this should be a pretty good one. So, before we jump into that, man, do you got anything for the news?
Man, this time, I hate to say it, but I'm going to leave news out this time because I'm really excited about talking about Ready Player One. And as far as news goes, we've been a little quiet on our page lately. I've been out of town, and I actually while I was out of town, got to go see Ready Player One. So I got lucky and was able to break from my conference long enough to go see it. But other than that, I've been so swamped that I haven't been really nosing the news or anything like that. Got a war drop today, so that's really...
Got it.
You know, and then Far Cry 5. Everybody loves that game, and I think I might start playing that one as well because it looks pretty clean and pretty sick. It looks like some fun times. But I want to jump in this. I want to jump talking about this game, about this movie and everything. I mean, this movie was sick. It was awesome.
Well, before that, I got some news actually. I got good and bad news.
Uh-oh.
You're not going to believe the good news though.
Throw the bad news first. Let's have the bad first.
Well, you got to have the good first because that's how the thing goes. So, Konami has actually already announced finally another 2D Castlevania. Did you know that?
That is awesome. I did not know that. I've been out of the loop. So the
graphics look awesome, and it's finally another 2D. Man, it's just amazing. You know the bad news. iOS on your cell phone. Are you kidding me, Konami? What are you doing? A cell phone Castlevania.
Oh my gosh!
Release it on it.
And I don't know. And on iOS, that's even worse.
Yeah, you could have this out on Switch, whatever, on these little $15 download. People would pay $20 or $30 for a 2D Castlevania.
You could so drop it on so many different things. I mean,
hopefully they. I don't know if they will release it like that. Anyway, it was just, it's terrible. So
go burn Konami down.
Yeah, we can really get into that. They don't seem to. I won't even get into how they handle their Castlevania franchises or any other franchise for that matter.
That's depressing.
So anyway, I thought that was funny. So that's why you had to have the good news first.
That is funny. Yeah, so, wouldn't have made any sense if you gave the bad news first.
Yeah, cell phone game. What? Oh, the new Castlevania. All right, man. So. I guess that's about it, man. I don't think I got anything else. I know you wanted to get this one down. You sound like you got a lot to say about it, so go ahead and you can start, man. Let's get this thing
I got a lot to say. So I'm going to start with a fresh perspective from this movie, from someone that's not read the book, that didn't really know anything about this, didn't even pay attention to any of the hype of it or anything like this. I really didn't put anything invested into this movie until Hollywood calls me up and says, "Hey, are you going to go see this movie?" And I'm like, man, I really just hadn't paid too much attention about it. I didn't really watch any of the trailers or anything. A couple of my friends talked about it, and I was just like, Boy, I was so mistaken by taking that role in there. Watched this movie and walked out going, "Oh my gosh, this is so awesome!" It was the biggest nostalgia ride for me. It was so amazing. Like, the story was put together very well from my perspective. Very, very, very detailed in a lot of things. I really liked the guy that played the lead character, Percival. I don't remember the actor's name, but man, he did a fantastic job of bringing that character to life. I felt very involved in the movie. I felt like it felt like it captured me and pulled me in the entire time. I related to so many things in it. It was just one of those movies that comes once, maybe twice in a lifetime, that you actually get sucked into the movie and you feel like you're a part of the movie, or you could easily be a part of the movie. It was just so much fun for me. One of the things that I really loved was the interactions between Percival and Artemis. They had a great connection there. They had a lot of chemistry on screen, and it was just really funny to see Percival all of a sudden out of nowhere go head over heels for this person he's never met, And
so hold on. So if you're just listening, you didn't read the description, there will be spoilers in this.
Lots of spoilers
in this. So if you haven't seen it, turn it off. But if you've seen it, you'll really we're gonna neck dive deep into it.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's just awesome because it was that, and there's so much symbolism in the movie. There's so many relics of symbols in the movies. There's so much stuff that alludes to the 90s, to the 80s, to, it's just so funny to listen to them talk about the culture and everything. I mean, most of the music was 80s music. There's a lot of symbols from the 90s that are in there. It just was so much fun. So I just want to leave that whole introduction right there at it. That's my little introduction for how I feel about the movie. I mean, it was just really awesome. I've got to see it several more times to catch things I didn't. I know I saw a lot there because the entire time I'm watching and try to mentally take notes because I wanted to enjoy the movie, but I also wanted to suck in enough so I could bring something really valuable to the podcast on this one, because it just was. I'm just constantly the entire time I'm watching it trying to catch every little detail, and there's just so much, and they pinpointed so many things and did so well on grabbing those little things here and there. So
let me tell you a shocker right here. The movie was awesome in the book, but the book is better. I know people say that all the time. I don't mean to sound pretentious or whatever when I say that, but the reason I say that is because it really gets into video game aspect of it. I mean, while they're in the video game world and they're talking about experience that he gets and the money and the life and the all the kind of stuff that you kind of deal with. So you really kind of get dragged into it with the book as well. But I did really enjoy the movie. I thought it was really well done. Like you said, the production value is obviously top notch. Spielberg, and it really emphasized. They did a really good job, like you said, with Artemis and Percival, the main character. Artemis is the love interest of the movie, and how they designed those avatars was really cool. I mean, I couldn't have thought of a better Percival avatar drawn out like that with a Thundercat belt buckle and all that. And it's sick, man.
Oh, it was awesome.
And one of the things that they did do for the movie that I wish I would have mentioned on the Smooth Ramblings a little bit more was that they did add more 90s to it. They do add 90s into the book, but it is more 80s based in the book a little bit more. They're more talking about Ataris, these old arcade games, the Defender and Centipede and stuff like that. They didn't get into any Nintendo. So I was like, well, he just doesn't have a license to mention it. I mean, I don't know how that stuff works. But I kind of wished he would have got more into that, because it seems like he's probably a little bit older than us. I don't know how Ernest Cline, the writer, I don't know how old he is. So after reading this book, I would assume he's a little older than us.
Well, do you have the book sitting right there with you?
Yep.
When was it written? What was its copyright date?
It was in 2011. That's when it was written.
I really, I didn't realize it was that recent written. I thought it was further back written.
No, it's like 2011. So
okay.
But yeah, so but I was kind of waiting for him to get into that, but he does get into the Back to the Future DeLorean and all the 80s songs, and Anorak was a big 80s guy. So let me just lay down the premise of it first, and then we'll start breaking it down a little bit. So the premise is there's this it's like a dystopia. It's real, the world is poor. The corporations have kind of taken over, and it's taken over by IOI. Innovative Online Instant Interactive or something like that, IOI. But anyway, that they're kind of a side player. But this I'm talking about the real world in this introduction. So it's like 2045, and so what everybody's kind of learned to do is this guy named Holiday. He invented something they called Oasis. And it is a simulator, just like a Second Life, if you will, except for obviously in 2045, we got way better technology, and they can put on, the goggles, the handset. They actually get these, the suits cost money. If you want to get a real expensive suit, you can feel the touch of anybody into the Oasis. You can feel a bullet hit you, whatever the case, when you go in there. But people have gotten so... it's free to play too. So it is a free to play microtransaction model. So we automatically don't but it didn't really get into it as much as it does in the book. If you want to travel from world to world, it costs money. And in the book, they, I think it's I'm kind of remembering this off the top of my head. So if I get the year wrong, if I get the planets wrong, just please forgive me. But there's a planet called Lupus or something like that, maybe Ludus, where all the kids go to school at Ludus, and that's how H and Percival meet. And so, but Percival can't leave Ludus because he didn't have any money. He's poor in real life, so he can't buy all this. But H is rich somehow, and is traveling all over and fighting in all these different worlds. And there's different zones you can go to, so you spend all your time getting experience levels. Great, just like an MMO. And you can get levels and gear and items and money to spend in the game and be whoever you want to be, obviously, just like you created a character. And but if you die, you lose it all. Okay, you get what do they call it in the movie when you die?
You get zeroed out.
Yeah, you get zeroed out. And so you get zeroed out, and they didn't really get into it in the movie, but in the book there's obviously some PvP zones and there's some non-PvP zones. And I thought the dance at the big, I won't not jump ahead, but I thought that the dance where they're dancing there was a non-PvP zone, but I can't remember exactly. I do remember getting attacked though, so I don't know how that worked.
It seems like it's a non-PvP zone just from the way that it's portrayed in the movie. It seems like it's a place just to go hang out, kind of like a social space.
Yep.
And that's just kind of how I inferred it, was more like a social space that you just go to hang out to meet people, and from there. So.
All right, so I'll give you my wife's quick impressions. She liked it, and she's not a video gamer. She read the book, and she said, "I don't like the book; it's too video gamey." I said, "All right." She only got to chapter. I got her right here where it's marked. So I think she got to chapter 4, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm good." Yep, 4.
I mean, to that aspect, just for all your listeners out there, really, the movie isn't like heavy. I didn't feel like it was heavy video game. It was more immersive because you're watching it.
Yeah, she liked the movie,
and so that's a neat contrast there, our comparison that she has. Didn't like the book because it's too video gamey, but yet you watch the movie and it's nothing but video game. So
yeah, but it's. Yeah,
it's a whole different thing.
The book will really get into every little detail about the games. That's what I'm talking about. See, if you don't play games, you're not really going to be as immersed into it immediately. If you do play games, it really immerses you into the book. I mean, Mitch, our coach RX, said that he said he read the book in like 2 days or something, and I could see why, because he really will like, oh my gosh, I got to see what happens next. Mm-hmm. And the movie is different. We'll talk about those differences as we go along. So what did you think about the movie? What kind of part stuck out at you at the beginning?
So something I want to bring up is I really think this is cool. It's just some symbolism they had in there. And I want to ask you this question to see if you know it before I go off. And I'm glad that I haven't even brought this up to you yet. Yep. Do you know what because IOI was is the big bad corporation or whatever, and whenever they sent people in to do their things, like Hollywood was referencing earlier, saying that the dance place was a non-PvP area, but they get attacked by IOI. all the soldiers from IOI have these big helmets on that have the big IOI symbol on it. Do you, Hollywood, know what the IOI symbol is?
The IOI symbol?
Yes.
Is it something from a chat room?
Nope.
I don't know then.
If you look on the back of your computer, the IOI port on the back of your computer is your
input
monitor.
output.
Is your monitor port.
Okay.
So IOI is always monitoring you.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
So there was some symbolism there because it's like you see this huge thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen that symbol. Where have I seen it from? That was the first thing I thought when I saw them. And I'm like, oh my God, what is that? And I sit there, it took me a minute, and I'm like, oh, that's a serial port. Wait, no, serial port is IOIOI. So this one was IOI, and I'm like, oh wait, that's the monitor port. And if you go look it up now, it looks exactly like the same thing because it's the I, the big square O, and then the other I. That's the monitor port symbol.
That's awesome.
So there's just that symbolism there, and it's just like because IOI was always watching what's going on, always involved, always watching you monitor port computer.
That's good, man. So yeah, let me explain who IOI is. I didn't even finish the actual explanation of I just told you about the world and the environment. So Halliday, after he invented this great utopia, Second Life oasis, he died. Okay, and so when he died, he had created it also with another partner, kind of like the Steve Wozniak of the movie.
Ogden or Og.
Yeah, Og. And so Og is the more socially inept one, and Halliday is like can't get along.
I honestly felt like Halliday was more socially inept than Og was. I felt like Og was more trying to be out there and everything, and Halliday was more like, he seemed to me he seemed like he was autistic. He used video games as a way to connect to people.
Yeah. Inept, what's that mean? That means not good at social?
Yeah, inept.
Yeah, I figured. After I said it, I said, I think I messed that up. So, Og, yeah, is definitely more social. Yeah, the other one is not. Halliday is not good at people. He uses video games to kind of cope. So when Halliday died, he sent a video, and he had his own avatar called Amarak, and it's a wizard. And so once he died, everybody's all upset. What's going to happen with Oasis? Well, he send out a message to everybody in Oasis that says, hey, I've hidden 3 keys, like Easter eggs in a game that you find throughout this entire universe, which is one big game, and he who finds it, will gain control of the Oasis. And so in the book, years go by without anybody finding a key, and everybody starts to believe it's just it's not real. And you had a few of those Gunthers or whatever that were hunting it down, and Percival being one, of course, H being one. But everybody's kind of thought they were dreamers because nobody cared about it until Percival finds the first one. That's kind of at the very beginning of the chapter of the book. Not how he finds it, just the background, and then the introduction of the book, and then somebody finally found one, and so now when he finds the key, he gets all the gold and stuff. Now he's able to travel, and the adventure begins. But it's a riddle. None of the riddles in the movie were the same as in the book. They're different riddles, and I'll even tell you how they found the first key in the book is not the same as. In fact, none of the keys are the same. Except
that's impressive. That it's like completely that different.
It's way different, and even how Artemis is introduced and everything is way better in the book. So that's all it is. And you find the golden egg. That's what you unlock with the 3 keys, and then you get complete control of Oasis, and you'll get all of Halliday's share, which is majority share, whatever. You control it. And so IOI is a huge corporation that has just hired a bunch of people and have all the money, all the technology to where they're trying to get the key so they can charge. They don't believe it should be free. They believe we can make, if we just charged everybody whatever a month to play and whatever, they can rule the world. So they got all the money, and they are trying to. They call them the Sixers in the book, and they call them 6 because each one has a 6-digit digital identifier. So they don't have. Once you sign up for IOI, you don't get your avatar is a number now.
So something that was interesting in the movie on that end is. Of course, they're all Sixers. They all have 6-digit numbers, but all their numbers begun with the number 6. If you watch them in the movie, every number that I saw, now I might be wrong, but every number that I remember seeing started with a 6.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a 3-way symbolism there, where there were sixers, 6 numbers, and started with number 6. Now I could be wrong, I could have missed something, but all the ones that I remember seeing had started with a 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the book it's just a 6-digit serial number. But I mean, I could be wrong too. Like I said, it's been a few months since I read the book, and I know I'm going to get some stuff wrong here, but this is just to give you guys an idea and just kind of get your thoughts of it. And so, or whatever stuck with us. And so the first Easter egg, or the first key on in the movie, there's a big race. There is no race in the book. There's no such race in the book at all. And he don't give us the DeLorean until later.
I really thought the race was awesome. I thought that was really just
that was pretty
really
sick.
sick.
You knew you were in for a ride. It's at the very beginning of the movie, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, it was just so awesome.
Yeah, I want to see it again now.
I do too. I've got to see it again.
I saw it in IMAX 3D. It was sick, man.
Oh,
and everything.
No, I hate you now. I tried to go to an IMAX and it was just too far away. I'd had to pay like $70-$80 to get a ride to an IMAX from where I was at in St. Louis. So I was like, it's not worth going to an IMAX for that. And that was just one way for that ride. I was like, no, I'm not spending that much to go to IMAX.
So there is it mentions it. They don't spend a whole lot of time there. I don't recall in the book if they do. Because they're super smart, and they kind of hint at that. They're super wicked smart. They've been studying 80s, watching all the old 80s movies, studying Halliday. They're already super smart about it at the beginning. But they do have the Halliday library that you can go to and kind of research all this stuff. But I think it's also like online, like when you can pull up on your visor and scroll through it.
That's pretty neat.
And so, the riddle, I don't remember the riddle. In fact, I could probably read you the riddle. If I get to it, but anyway, I won't go digging through here. Yeah, because I'm not going to be able to find. I'm not going to find it. I'm not going to go through and look for every single one of them. So I'm not going to. Well, in the
movie, there's actually only 2 riddles because they just say somebody. There's supposed to be 3 riddles, but I don't remember ever hearing or seeing the first riddle about getting to the race stage, because the movie is like one day this portal was here after this guy figured something out, and this is how you get to the race. And it never, I don't remember ever hearing about that riddle, but I remember hearing the next 2 riddles. So that was something that was kind of different. Yeah, like go back in time. If we could go back in time or whatever. So at the beginning of the race, you have to reverse your car to finish the race. Otherwise, nobody ever finishes it. The very first, this is pretty sick how they find the first key in the movie. So the very first, and I hate that I'm not going to remember all the little details, which is probably pretty good, so you can go back and read it without me messing it up too bad. But it's on lupus. It's because it has something to do in the riddle about learning and blah blah blah. So just wait a minute, this is the only place, and they find between classes or whatever, Percival's just teleporting on Earth or running around on Earth, or not on Earth, on Lupus, that around the planet there, to try to find this one cave somewhere that you have to get to and do something. And then when it opens up, it's a huge dungeon based on a game, and you have to know that game. So they're recalling all this stuff about this. He's by himself. He's recalling all this stuff about this game that, I'm just making this game up, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know, like there's some kind of dungeon crawler. You're like, I remember, you can't go in here, the food will be here, there's a secret entrance here, and you're remembering all this stuff as he's walking through it to try to get to the end. And he's like, oh my gosh, I found this hidden thing on this planet, this has to be where the key is. And then when you pull up to the death lynch where that big boss is, and he's like, I have no armor or nothing, I'm completely poor. I think he was like level 10, somehow just by killing slimes or whatever on the planet. and so he's like, Death Lynch is going to slimes.
Yeah, he said Death Lynch is going to destroy me. And he walks in, and there's this big throne room, and Death Lynch is just up there, and he's quiet with his eyes closed. And then he opens his eyes up and just looks at him. He's just like, what am I going to do? And then it starts talking to him or whatever, and then it challenges him to a game of Centipede, and that's how you get the first key.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome!
And you got to beat him at Centipede, and so if you win, or you lose, something happens if you win. If you lose, and it's a weird thing how I can't remember. It's Joust, the game Joust, and like it even breaks down the game of Joust in the book about there was like some kind of a programming error to where the second player could jump a little bit higher or something, or a little bit longer. There's one little thing different, so you had to trick this Lynch King into jumping on the one player, and you get to play two player, and that's how you could beat him. Something like that. So it just, all I'm saying is it breaks it down really, really good. But real quick about Artemis, he hasn't met Artemis at this point, and Artemis is a big blogger, Gunter. That's a big blogger and posting pictures and all of her experiences and all this, and so he's kind of has this infatuation with her just by reading her stuff and all this, and then of course she somehow wanders in later, and that's how they meet, because she was tracking the same type of thing he was. I gotta look up the third key now before.
You're cool. Well, what I'll do is I'll start explaining it from the movie perspective, because the movie perspective, the movie challenge was completely different than that. The first challenge, of course, like Hollywood already said, was basically a death race. Is kind of what it was, because you had to get to the end. There were so many cool parts in this race. First, when Percival gets up there, his car is the DeLorean. So that right there, you're just like, oh my gosh, the license plate on it said Percival on the back of it. Really cool, really awesome thing. Well, he starts out in the back of the race because what he's doing is he's out of money, so he's trying to collect coins so he can have money to fill up his gas tank so he can continue through the race. The really cool thing is you see H. H is this big honking guy, really cool looking thing. He's got some mechanical stuff to him, really awesome looking, and he's driving Bigfoot. So he's about to be awesome throughout this race. So he's sitting there, and he's sitting in the DeLorean in the back, waiting to rev up and everything. And he's like, all right, yeah, this is going to be great and everything. And all of a sudden, it's time to go. He takes off. They go through the race. They're racing, and you see him doing these little slides behind cars that are getting destroyed by all this different stuff that's going on, grabbing the coins that are falling out from them. So basically, throughout the movie, every time somebody dies or loses an arm or whatever, coins start falling out of them. So basically, it's their money or their weapons, whatever they've earned, it's just falling out of them. It's kind of like in Fortnite, when you shoot somebody, kill them, all their stuff falls out. And so you can go pick it up and everything. So that's kind of what Percival's doing right now, so he can have money to be able to race more, because basically he's a Gunter trying to find the egg, doing all these races. So he's doing this race and everything and going through it, and all of a sudden he sees a person on a bike. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is Artemis right there. Did you see that? That's Artemis, is what he's saying to H through their little talk comm system. And just talking about it, really awesome. H is riding the Akira motorcycle from the comic book movies, all that. Awesome. And it's awesome. It's awesome. It looks awesome. It is great. Well, they're riding. All of a sudden, they get to King Kong jumps out and starts chasing them. So it's really awesome, and they're chasing them and all that. And H has already had a wreck to where he can't go any further. His Bigfoot's broken down, and it's pretty much all you see is Percival right now, just hauling tail in the DeLorean. And all of a sudden, Kong jumps, crashes through these tracks, and there's this hole there, and Percival knows that he can't make that jump. It's just not going to. He slides the car, basically almost trashes the car. He knows he can't make the jump. So all of a sudden, he sees Artemis just zooming by, and he's like, oh, wait, she's not going to make that jump. Kong's going to hit her and zero her out. And he didn't want her to zero because, he's infatuated with her. At this time, you really don't know much about Artemis in the movie. You just know it's this bad biker chick. Because you don't see her face at this time, nothing. You just see her in a motorcycle helmet. You can see her mouth because it's not a full face helmet, and on the Akira motorcycle. So that's all you know. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Percival jumps and knocks Artemis off her bike. Her bike goes careening. It nails Kong. Kong trashes it. And this is all right in front of the finish line. You can see the finish line over Kong's shoulder. It kind of looks like the gateway into like...
cemetery or something.
Either cemetery or what I was thinking of is Central Park. If you look at New York City Central Park, it kind of has that look to it because it's got the whole park behind it, really nice look and everything like that. So it kind of feels like it's modeled after Central Park there in New York City. So after that, they're like, oh my gosh, she's all mad and everything because she thought she was going to finish, but he's like, look at your bike and look what Kong just did. And so that's kind of where that whole introduction of all of them happened, and that's what happens at that point.
Yeah.
So I loved that because I just tried to hang on to as much of that as I could because I just thought it was so awesome.
That race was really good, man. All the different things jumping out, just like nostalgia overload.
It really was, and that's like in the first 20 minutes of the movie. Like your mind is blown right then and there. It's just crazy.
Yeah. In the movie, it takes place, the whole contest is a few days, but in the book, it's a long, long time, a lot longer.
Well, I don't feel like it was a few days. I feel like it was longer than that, but I don't think it was more than a year.
It was years in the book.
Yeah, I feel like this was over a span of about a year in the movie versus, a few days, versus years in the book.
Yeah. So after in the book, once he gets the first key, his score jumps up to whatever 100,000, just like it does, and all of a sudden he gets all this gold and all this riches. And in the book, he's you could tell it hints at it when he goes on his shopping spree in the movie, but in the book it really fleshes out how he's made a bunch of money. Yeah. He can do all this cool stuff. He buys all this cool stuff, can travel all over. And H. The only person he knows there's two people he knows. You won't ever guess the second one he knows. He's in the movie too. So I'll let you have a guess at it, just because it's going to be funny. But he knows two people. One's H right away, and H is, like I said, real rich and traveling around doing all the cool stuff. But Percival never borrows money from him or never does anything. But the other person he knows is.
I have no clue.
So H has a hangout that it's a private room that only he goes to, and he can invite it's a private room, just a private chat room.
Yeah, so it's kind of like his workshop in the movie.
Yeah, and he has to invite it's not a workshop in the book. It really spells it out to where it's just like a game room.
But the way it's played in the movie is like that could be the same thing.
Yeah. So the other person he knows is IROC.
No way.
IROC? Yeah, IROC is a whole different character.
IROC has to be like that dude that's sleeping with his aunt or whatever.
No, IROC is a you don't ever know who IROC is in real life in the book. But IROC's just this guy that hangs out with them sometimes, and he kind of gets on their nerves a little bit. He's kind of a
wow,
just kind of gets on their nerves, just kind of like pushes all their buttons all the time, like, well, I can do that too, and blah, 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 that kind of crap. And then once they find the first egg, he goes on this whole big spree, IROC, of like posting, because you don't want to tell you who your real identity is, and you don't know who Percival is or anything about him, and he goes on these forums and claims, I know who they are, and I know where they got, just trying to get famous, and so they're worried about him a little bit there. But
wow,
yeah, it's
that's completely different from the movie. Yes, it's completely different from the movie. So before we get too far, I do want to explain a little bit about the movie because we haven't really explained about the first key and how he gets the first key in the movie. So in the movie, they've done this race a couple times. You see it and everything. You actually see it a few times. See it happen. I think you had to see it happen twice before
I think so.
Before they solve it as something like that. And so he goes to the knowledge, basically the library of Holiday, and goes in there and he's watching this clip that he's watched several times and just watching it, keeping going, just trying to figure out a clue from there because for whatever reason that's where the clue is. They know that it's in this one scene. Holiday recorded everything from his life. Basically, he was a very much kind of like a social media addict is basically what he was, but he was just not very social with actual people. So like Percival is watching this, and I want to bring this up too real quick while I'm thinking about it. The butler. Do you know what symbolism the butler is?
It's in terms of what?
Okay, the butler. Look at the butler. Remember what the butler looked like. Mm-hmm. And remember something from back in the late 90s, early 2000s on the internet.
Let me see what the butler looks like again. late 90s, early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s is when this was happening, where the symbolism will blend with the two. And it has to do with him being at the library as well.
All right. The reason I was looking at, I pulled up pictures of a couple things. I had the butler there.
While you're doing that and think about this, I'm going to finish up the part I had with this. So anyways, he's watching this clip of Holiday talking to Og, and all of a sudden he says something about, maybe we could just go back in time and just say this backwards, and starts doing like this. And all of a sudden Percival's thinking, what if we ran the race backwards? And so they go to do the race again, and he's sitting there, and H is there, and Artemis is there, and the race starts. Everybody takes off, and Percival's sitting in the DeLorean, doesn't move an inch. All of a sudden he slams it in reverse, pushes the pedal to the metal, and shoots through this back door in the back of the race. And all of a sudden he's going under the race. You know how like in games you glitch under the boards and everything, you can see everything going on under you? He is basically glitched under the board, going through it and everything. He gets to the part where Kong jumps through the track, and he gets right through it, and all of a sudden it opens this door up, and he pops out, and he's driving backwards and goes through the finish line backwards, and then loops around this circle. All of a sudden trumpets start playing, and Holiday's character pops up and says, "You've won, here's the first key, and here's your next clue." So that's pretty much how that goes. And then you see him get all the money right then and there. So now that you've had time to look at it, do you know the symbolism between the butler and some late 90s, early 2000s thing?
No, I don't.
Ask Jeeves.
What's like that's
Ask
what he is?
Jeeves was a search engine.
Yeah, I remember the search engine.
Back in the day, and their symbol was a butler. If you look at the butler, it looks very similar to the butler that's in there. And two, with the fact that the butler is actually searching the knowledge for them and pulling it back to them, it's kind of like Ask Jeeves back in the day that would go out and pull the knowledge for you and say, here's the things.
That's cool. Yeah,
so this is
in there.
So there's tons of symbolism.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in there.
Just tons of it, just all over the place. It's great. So that's how he gets the first key. And then Percival goes on a shopping spree. One of my favorite things he buys that I just love because of the symbolism to it, tied into a movie that's actually not 90s or 80s pop culture. It's actually 70s pop culture, is the Holy Hand Grenade. And do you, sir, know where the Holy Hand Grenade comes from?
Nope.
Oh my gosh. You have homework now. You have to go watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Let me tell you why that's interesting. There is no Holy Hand Grenade in the movie either, I don't think. Pretty sure.
In the book.
In the book, I mean. But you know where that reference is? The second contest, Wade. So they kind of get into a falling out. Artemis and Wade, of course, like in the movie. They get distracted, and then she runs off for a long time, and not just that.
And Wade is Percival's real name.
Wade is Percival's. Yeah, Wade Watts is his real name. Percival is his. They call him Z in the game. Percival, the knight that is looking for the Holy Grail or whatever. That's where he got it from. And so, the second contest, as he's trying to find the second contest, he's. This again, like years have gone by, hasn't talked to Artemis. He's looking for the second key, and I know that Artemis finds one first before Wade, and I can't remember if it's the second or the third one. But anyway, at one of the planets that Wade's on, it's like an arcade, a pizza parlor's in there, and I'm pulling off from memory. I can't remember exactly, but there's a Pac-Man machine there, and he plays the Pac-Man machine and tries to get the high score. Well, he's done it so many times. Him and H always played Joust, always played all these old games against each other all the time. In that arcade room I was talking about, the secret room, and he has to play Pac-Man, and he tries to get the final score. On Pac-Man, the arcade game, when you get to the final stage, the RAM or the memory's pretty much run out of the game, so half the stage is garble. And so it mentions that, and then once he finishes, he gets the Pac-Man, the high score, and the high score was that he had to beat was pretty much a perfect game. So he had to get a perfect game to beat the high score, and then he did, and then a coin falls down, blink, in his hand, and he has no idea. It's a quarter, And he's like, okay, well, that's what I get. Great. And he puts it in his pocket, and that's like in the middle of the book. You don't even know what it's for. You know it's something important.
Wow.
Obviously, they wouldn't have mentioned it. And then he goes about it. That somewhere right in there, he's there because he's searching for the second key, and it's led him there. And right in there, he finds the second key. He goes to the second contest. You know what the second contest is in the book?
What? I have no clue.
To act out a movie, Mighty Python's Holy Grail.
Oh my
That's
gosh!
why.
So that's why the holy hand grenade is in
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's a great way to kind of tie it together.
You have to go through the whole movie as one of the characters, the main character, I suppose, and you have
that's so
and you have to
hilarious.
recite all the lines. If you get the line wrong, you get 0 points. If you get it right, you get points. If you add an accent and the correct inflection, you get more points.
Oh my gosh!
It's pretty funny. Next, the whole movie out, and then once you finish it and you do it correctly without losing all your lives or whatever, then you get the second key.
That's an easy challenge for me. I love Monty Python. I know that by heart.
Yep.
So something that's interesting there is that he got that 25-cent piece just from falling out of the sky from getting a perfect game on.
Well, it came out of the machine or whatever.
Yeah. Well, basically just fell out of it. Yeah, it materialized out of nowhere. What I love about it is in the movie is he actually gets the coin from the butler. And he gets it off a bet. He bet him all of his coins, all of Percival bet the butler all of his winnings that they only mentioned. I can't even remember her name now.
Yeah, I can't
it
remember
was Og's wife.
Ogden Morrow.
Ogden Morrow's wife. It was his wife, and she was only mentioned one time. And
Karen
was only mentioned one time in all of the records that Holiday had that he kept. He basically scrubbed her name except for one mention. And Percival bet the butler that it was only mentioned once. And of course he won because that's a very big hint to the second challenge. So the second challenge is basically they have to go through The Shining.
Yeah.
And it is hilarious. I mean, this is like so funny. My favorite part is so they're standing there and H is like, I've never seen The Shining. Is it scary? I just die out laughing when he says this because it's just like, oh my gosh, he's the biggest idiot ever. H does not understand that The Shining is like an original horror movie, you know? And so he starts walking off on his own. He sees the two little girls. He says, oh, hey little girls, you want to play? You know, because they roll the ball at him and everything, and that just, in the movie that starts off like that's the beginning of the end right there. You don't follow the two girls, you don't do it whatsoever, And so he goes over, follows them to the elevator, and you see Percival and Artemis come around the corner and go no, and then all of a sudden the blood comes through, washes them away, and H ends up going into a room. He goes into room 237. You don't go into room 237. Just don't do it. Don't ever go into a room that's number 237. And so he goes in the room, and of course, it's the classic room where the woman is in the tub and pulls the shower curtain back, and he's like, oh, hey, naked lady. He's just talking really nice to her and everything, and then all of a sudden he sees her in the mirror, and it's, she's the death woman, and all of a sudden he's losing his mind because he realizes, oh crap, The Shining is a horror movie. And so H is just freaking out at this point, just going mad, just doesn't know what to do. Eventually, they save him and everything. And there was this one thing that came up was they had a time limit to try to figure this all out. They had like an hour to figure it out, basically. And they were getting close to the end of the time, and they're like, we can't figure anything out. And by the way, they're also in this room with two other people. I can't remember. It was a samurai character and a ninja character. I can't remember.
Shido or something like that.
Yeah, Dido and Shin or something like that. Yeah. Really cool guys, but they kind of play just a background character at this point. They're just kind of, there. But, nobody's really found any clues yet, but they're like, man, we haven't even found one thing about Karen. And all of a sudden H goes, oh, there's a picture of Karen on the wall down here. And so they go find it, they see it, and it's of Karen and Holiday about to go dancing. And so they're like, oh, dancing, that's the key. And there's actually a dance room in the hotel. So they go in, and half the floor is gone, and it's basically zombies dancing, and they look out and they see Karen. And they're like, how do we get there? And Artemis does some awesome jumping, goes out there, jumps across. Well, once she starts doing that, all of a sudden, everybody else gets thrown out of the hotel. Basically, they're locked out. They can't help her. She has to finish the mission on her own. So she's hopping around. She eventually gets over to Karen, and she's like, I've been waiting a long time for this, and a long time for you to ask me this. And so they start dancing together. And then all of a sudden, Holiday's character comes up, says, here's the next key. She gets the key, and then all of a sudden everybody else gets the key as well. So really cool thing right there happened. I really, really thought that was awesome. They had a great play of The Shining. There was even a scene when H was in the 237 and the axe is chopping through the door. I mean, it's got it all there. It's just really hilarious. I felt bad for H because he just didn't know what he was getting into when he went in there. And he's like, hey, and he says it straight up. He's like, I don't like horror movies. And so he got to live one of the best horror movies ever. And it was just hilarious. You've got to watch that one and watch it with a very careful eye to catch on all the stuff, because there's just so much going in that one too.
So Dido and Show. So how they're introduced in the book is that once you get the key, you popped up on the leaderboard. Percival, it's 100,000 points, and then Artemis would get 90,000 for getting second, and then whoever got it, H would get third, some like 80 or whatever, and then if you got fourth, I think you got 70 until it got down to like 50,000. Then if you finished it, you got 50 to do it. So it always go, so it always start off like Parzival, and at least the first key, Parzival, Artemis, H, and then it was Dido and Show. And so that's how who are these two guys, and then it was always IOI guys all the way down, because they would eventually figure it out. And so Dido and Show, that's kind of that high five that they call it in the movie. So that they eventually start to team up, and they were on, hey, we're not gonna, Dido and Show somehow get into the H's hidden room or whatever, and kind of introduce herself, and this is what we're doing. And like, okay, because they think IOI is gonna get the second key. Say, hey, we need to combine forces here, because otherwise, and that we don't clan up, we don't guild up, But the sad part in the book that is not mentioned in the movie is Dido actually gets killed. He's in the Oasis. Wow. Yeah, he's in the Oasis, and IOI, because they say don't share your identity, and he's in Japan. And they break in and kill him while throw him out of his chair and throw him over the balcony of his high rise, and they think it's a suicide. They make it like a suicide, and so Show's like real tore up over it or whatever. And I think Show's the one that shows up, but Wade does get tempted by IOI, and that's how. So Wade gets called up by IOI in the book about the same time as he does, and tries to say, "Hey, come work for us. We'll give you $80 million a year," some kind of silly number like that. And you'll get all the good stuff, and you'll be we'll make you a hero in the world, but we get the winnings, and so that's when he starts to call out to Artemis again, that he hadn't spoken to H and all these people, to say, hey, they're going to come for you too. So, and they knew where he was at that time. I don't remember how they found out, but they found out who it was, and they did blow up the park, or that trailer park in the movie, but he wasn't there. Just like that. He goes to that secret little van that he always goes to and gets in there. And that's his secret getaway spot. And so they didn't know about that, and they blew it up, and they killed everybody but him. So they think he's dead in the book for a while. Until he pops back up.
Yeah, it didn't take no time in the movie. Like, they think he's dead, and then like 5 minutes later, they're like, oh my gosh, there he is. So yeah, it was no time in between the two. Yeah. But I mean, in the movie, there's never any dissension or real bad dissension between Artemis and Percival. They're pretty tight from the time they finally connect through the rest of the movie. The movie's more of Percival trying to save Artemis from being captured, because she gets captured by IOI eventually.
Yep. So go ahead and go into that part, because I got something. The book's different.
So in the movie. In the movie, after they've gotten the second key, IOI starts trying to hunt them down in real life. Wade at this time has messed up and given his identity away. They know he's Wade Watts. They don't know Artemis or anybody else, but they know Wade Watts, and so they've used him to track him down. And they've tracked him down. By this time they've blown the trailer park up already, and Wade is now with the quote unquote rebellion that Artemis is leading. Artemis is leading a rebellion in the movie, and so there's also this guy that's been kind of tailing Wade a good bit through the trailer park and everything. It turns out it's one of Artemis's workers. Well, they use that guy to track down where the rebels are, and they send these drones in, and they send these IOI bad guys in to take down the rebellion, because they're the ones getting all the keys right now. And so they finally figure out that Artemis was part of the rebellion, and so Wade and Artemis is starting to try to escape. Well, all of a sudden, which Artemis's name in real life is Samantha. I don't think they ever say her last name. And so they go in there, they do the whole attack, and Artemis and Wade are in a back room, and all of a sudden Artemis opens up the store, or Samantha opens up the store and says, "Hey, go through here. Let's go through here. This is the way we can escape." And he starts to go out. Wade starts to go out. All of a sudden Samantha's like, "You'll thank me later," closes the door, or "You'll forgive me later," closes the door, and then just basically holds off IOI so he can escape. So she gets caught right then and there, and then the next cool thing happens. The next cool thing that happens in the movie is Wade and H meet in real life.
So,
and this is
don't
where
get into that yet.
Okay.
Don't tell.
So that's where stuff will happen. But so that's where the conflict of Wade trying to save Samantha happens, because when she gets captured, the IOI people say, "Okay, now you owe so much money for all your crimes, yada yada yada. You're going to go into this thing and you've got to work it off." Basically, she now becomes a prisoner, and she is now quote unquote a prison sixer. So she's been captured. She actually is working for them. She's in an orange jumpsuit in the Oasis, setting charges and whatnot, and that's kind of where she's been basically put in jail. So
yeah. So in the book, the third key. So the way it works in the book, you find the key, and then you got to find the place to use the key. You got to find the key. Then there's the key. There's the clue to where to use the key. That'll open up the next event. Is what it is.
And in the movie, it's very different than that, because it's basically you get the key, and then all of a sudden the lock is right behind, right behind the guy's avatar, and you use the key, and the clue pops out.
Yeah. So what happens in the book is you get the key, and it gives you, and you get another clue, and then you look at that clue, and that'll tell you where to use the key, or that's where you go and you turn the key, and then it opens up the second event or whatever to get the second key. And then you have to fit the clue to where to go find it, and so on. So the IOI has found where to use the third key. The third key puzzle in the book, and I don't remember exactly, it's something to do with the band Rush. You got to do something with the Rush band. I can't remember what it is. I think it's something to do with a song or something. I can't remember. But that's just, it probably wasn't that significant, I guess, because I can't remember it. But they get the key, and then the Sixers have found, or IOI, same people, have found the place to use the final key to finish the final contest to get the egg. And it starts to get kind of true to the book here to some degree. At least the part to where they seize that castle and put that, god item or whatever. That's a 99
orb of something. Yeah, I can't remember the 99 level magic that nobody can bust. And I love Iraq at that point.
Yeah, he's funny in the movie. He's like the comic relief.
Iraq is hilarious in the movie.
He's introduced as this real big, skull chest and all this, and he's just a goofball.
Well, the actor that voices him, right?
Yeah.
T.J. Miller.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who he is. He's in Deadpool and all that.
He's in Deadpool. Yeah, he's the comedy guy in Deadpool that's behind the bar in Deadpool. So if you've seen the movie Deadpool, then you know exactly what we're talking about. T.J. Miller's pretty funny.
So they can't penetrate that shield. Nobody can. And at this point in the movie, or in the book, they found... all have found these special items. I think that was one of the second contest. the Mighty Python, at the end of that, you got to pick some big mech, item that you can turn into. And he could say, okay, I know H probably picked that one because of that's whatever. And then Gundam or whoever is probably picked by Dido or whoever. And then he picks one, based on some Godzilla or something, some big thing. And so anyway, they all have one of those. So he tries this elaborate plan, and this is a twist on the book here, on the movie. Wade gets caught by IOI on purpose. Artemis never gets caught. So in the book, it's Wade. And so they've talked about, this is what's so good about the book, they've talked about this stuff, but you can buy stuff on the black market, just like you can off the internet, these codes or access passes or whatever. And you hope they work, but he goes in there and buys this access pass for IOI, that administrative password is all it is. And it's because when you go to IOI, you're in that little room, not the worker room where you sleep. You're working outside and doing all this, and then you come back and sleep in this one room that has and I don't think you're in the Oasis when you're doing it. I think you're outside the Oasis working for them. I can't remember. But at the end, you go to a room to sleep, and it's a full cameras on you 24/7 while you're sleeping. But you get one little computer that just goes to only basically it's a intranet, that only inside of IOI that you can access all your handbooks and all of your, stuff like that, how to do your job better crap. And so he had to memorize it, of course, that password. He's like, man, I hope this works or whatever. Of course it works. He gets in there and finds out how to disable the cube and escapes somehow based with that, and I can't remember how. But he gives that big broadcast. Everybody's come join us in this final fight, and the Oasis is something to be free and shared. You can join us, Gunters, all over. I'm Percival, and this whole big speech, similar to the movie. And then they all show up, and then they all turn into they only have one mech, and it's Gundam. And H has that big giant, but that's not how it was in the movie or in the book. He had it. They all had these real big things, and of course the bad guy Nolan Sorrento had his big one too. But once you get it, so you got anything else to say about that first, and then I'll talk about the book.
Well, so the way the movie is different is they try to recreate what Wade remembers from the room when he went to talk to Sorrento about becoming. Become a part of that. So they recreate the room. H is able to hack into Sorrento's. Sorrento's got this big, huge chair, by the way, that he gets to game in that has everything tied into it. So he's in his chair. So he's right there in his chair talking to Percival. And Percival, as he's watching, he looks over there to the side and he sees that Sorrento has his password taped to the side of his chair.
Yep.
Just like any idiot out there that has their passwords taped to the side of their PC or whatever. I know plenty of people that do it. I laugh every time I see it. But it's just because of that funny thing there that happens. They create it, and they're like, because he doesn't remember the password, but they create that room. They were able to hack into his visor. So when he pulled his visor off, he felt like he was in his room. And you had Percival, actually Wade, and Dido's real person, I can't remember his name, both standing there holding guns to Sorrento's head, basically saying, "You're going to give us back Samantha or Artemis." Eventually, Sorrento figures out that they're faking it. He's been hacked somehow, and he takes off his mask. That's the end of it. And they were able to get the password, though. That was the key. So they got the password, and they had it. And so they're able to get it to Artemis and teach her how to get out of the box she's in. So she's able to pop the top on the box, get out, and that's how she gets out. And she's able to go over there to one of the Sixers chairs. She sneaks over there through the lines of everybody going in and out, and she is able to get into a Sixer chair. She puts on the Sixer gear and everything, and she gets over to the orb. And while she was in, I'm sorry, I missed a part here. She actually snuck into Sorrento's room, got into his chair, and pulled up his visor and found the instructions for the orb. And so, because she had his password, she was able to get into his chair. So she looked there, got the instructions on how to do it, and then she had to sneak out because Sorrento and his crew came back in. And so she sneaks out, and she gets into a Sixers chair, and she goes up to there where the orb is in that castle. She eventually sneaks there. She has to do a lot of hiding and sneaking around, and she sends, I forgot what it is, but basically it reminds me of Destiny's Ghost. It was like an orb that she sent over, and she was able to talk to it and communicate through it, and she whispers the passcode to bring the shield down, and that's how they bring the shield down in the movie. And so they brought it down, and of course, Artemis had his big spill going on during this time, getting everybody to come. Percival has a big spill, getting everybody to come, and H is a big iron giant. You have all of that going on. You don't see the Gundam yet. That happens a little bit later down the road, but you do see Sorrento take a Mechagodzilla form, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's Mechagodzilla! You know, they all kind of freak out, but it's just so funny to watch the Iron Giant fight Mechagodzilla. That's a really fun fight, and fun to watch that. And eventually Dido does pull out his Gundam, and he can actually only use it for just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he uses it for the little bit that he can, and he puts a whooping on Mechagodzilla, but he doesn't kill him. And all of a sudden you see him, as he's bringing the sword through Mechagodzilla, you see him start to shrink up. Mechagodzilla has him in his hand and crushes Dido, and Dido gets zeroed out right then and there. Yep. So I'm going to leave it at that part because there's so many pieces going on in there.
So I messed up a little bit here. So this is how... in the movie, there's a copper key, copper gate, jade key, jade gate, crystal key, crystal gate. So you have to do something at each one of those. In the movie, it's just a copper key, jade key, and crystal key. So the copper key, you have to defeat Acerec, the Demi-Lich of Dungeons and Dragons, in a best of 3 rounds of Joust. The copper gate, where you have to do a movie, complete a War Games flick sync. So instead of Mighty Python, it's War Games for the copper gate. Jade Key is win a 3-dimensional rendering of the text-based adventure game Zork. And the Jade Gate is win a 3D rendering of the 1987 platform Black Tiger. Crystal Key, return a mythical guitar to its altar in the world of Rush's classic concept album 2112. And the Crystal Gate is beat Holiday's high score in Templars, then you complete the Mighty Python Holy Grail flick sync. So it wasn't that gate, it was the last gate that you do that. Okay. And discover the very first video game Easter egg and adventure, 1980 Atari game. So, that's one of the differences there.
Yeah. And in the movie, that's where they sync up just a little bit. Is the only challenge they have to do is find the Easter egg in the adventure game, in the 1980 Atari game. But they don't know that. They don't find that out. They don't find that out, and they have this. It's really funny. There's this TV, old school CRT TV, on this little old school. If you've ever seen it, it's the same thing that you would see in like schools, rolling a TV around with an Atari 2600 sitting there, and Sixers were walking up playing this game. And there's just a huge line of Sixers playing games constantly. They were playing every single game, trying to figure it out. And every time a Sixer would get so far into the game or so into a certain point, they'd fall through the ice and basically be zeroed out. They'd die. So you just see these Sixers keep on doing this, and this brain team back in the real world are trying to figure out what game it is. And eventually they figure out, we need to play Adventure. It's the only game left. And so the guy's playing it, and he finally gets past level 1. Like the whole time, it's like when once they get past level 1, the Sixer dies. In any other game, it was just that. Well, in Adventure, they get past level 1, and they like, oh my gosh, he's past level 1. He's still playing. So he's playing this game on Atari while this huge war with all these mecha stuff is going on outside. You know, it's kind of funny, and he's just oblivious to it because he's just sitting there down with his face into the screen playing this game. And I kind of like sitting there laughing because I'm like, you know what? It's probably going to be us one day. A war is going to be going on outside, and we're going to be playing our game and so far into it that the war doesn't even matter to us. You know, it's just kind of funny, made me laugh a little bit. But, you know, they're doing that. The guy actually beats the game and then falls through the ice, and they're like, what do we do? What? And then we don't get it, you know. Eventually, you see Percival come out after all of the war's been going on. Some crazy stuff has gone on. He got to use the holy hand grenade, which was awesome. I love when he uses that. That was like, I was just so excited that he used that because it's just, I just love the holy hand grenade. So he finally gets to use that, and just he's going in there, and he's like, he actually had to fight both of them, right? Am I not mistaken by saying that? He had to fight Sorrento and Iraq.
No, Iraq just died. Remember, he's like, "Oh, don't do that. It's a noob move."
No, he didn't. He didn't die yet. He died because what it was Percival and the dude were fighting before they got to the end, and
I didn't think he fought Iraq. I thought he fought just Nolan.
I think Iraq was there because he was like, "Don't do it," because Iraq had lost an arm at this time.
Oh yeah.
And so, anyways, it was Sorrento and Percival fighting. They were fighting. Percival started whooping up on him.
That was an awesome fight.
Yeah, it was such a great fight. And it's really funny because Sorrento's character in the Oasis looks like a bad guy Superman.
Yeah, like
it's kind because he's got the old Superman hair curl style thing going on, and the kind of Kingpin look. So it's kind of like a twist between them. It was really funny looking. But Sorrento's like knocked down. He had pulled this device that during the shopping spree, I think it was during the shopping spree that Percival had pointed that out, that was a weapon that will destroy everything, including the person that sets it off, and basically zeroes everybody in a level.
Yeah,
basically
catalyst.
It's a level. Yeah, it's a level obliterator catalyst. So Sorrento shows this, and that's when they start fighting. And Iraq is like, "Man, that's not cool, man. Let's not use that." He wanted to put it away. Well, eventually, Percival's just beating Sorrento enough that he goes, he's knocked down, and he sees where he had dropped the catalyst. He reaches over, grabs it, and just boom, blows up the board. He dies. Percival dies. You get to see Iraq running. He's running, and he's missing one arm. He's running, trying not to die. He's like, "I don't want to lose my stuff," kind of thing. And all of a sudden, before he can get to the little bitty warp portal, he just and you see all of his stuff fall and hit the ground. It's really kind of funny. What's cool about it is all of a sudden, like, all this happened, and you see in the real world the leaderboard that they had. It goes, everybody just disappears because he killed everybody. Everybody's zeroed, And when they're driving through in the real world, people are like on the side of the street, kind of sad, and just like, oh, it's crazy, because everybody's lost everything at this point because everybody came to fight them because nobody wanted IOI to get it. All of a sudden, you see Percival still in the area right there with the frozen little water and the Atari game. And he reaches in his pocket, and he's still got that quarter. He pulls the quarter out, he flips it over, and it says "Extra Life." That quarter that he was given back from I'm gonna call him Jeeves. I can't remember his name, but he's gonna be Jeeves now. Was actually extra life. So it wasn't just a quarter that he bet him. He actually won an extra life from the guy. So that was kind of cool. It's like, oh my gosh, that's really cool that the quarter meant more than just that. And so he goes over and he starts explaining. He's like, Adventure is a great game, but you got to know the greatest secret of it all is it's the first Easter egg ever. And you also see this other girl in the real world that was on the little team trying to figure it out starts saying basically the same thing. And it's just funny that they all come to this realization. And he's sitting there playing the game, and he's like, but the Easter egg is the real way to win the game. You don't ever finish the game to get the Easter egg because it's the very first thing you can do. It's at the very beginning of the game. So he does it, and it's just the guy's name in the board or whatever. He's like, you got to find the little invisible place on the map, and then on the board go back to the beginning, and you get to see his name, the first ever Easter egg in a video game. And all of a sudden he unlocks the gate. Everything goes from there, and it's some pretty cool stuff that happens, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we've left behind.
Yeah, so we'll go over that real quick.
That I want to start covering on that too.
So we'll go over it real quick. And then we'll talk about the ending. But in the book, mine is similar. But they have to. They can't open the gate IOI. They got the whole thing. They can't open the gate, and that's part of the whole plan that Wade does while he's in IOI, if I remember correctly. That he goes in there and he says it's going to shut down. He's going to shut down the shield at a certain time because what he did when he hacked into the system there, and that's how they get it shut down in the book. But everybody's there. And but IOI still cannot go to he's not there playing adventure. They can't even open the third gate in the book. And it turns out the reason is because you have to have 3 people to open the gate. You have to have your friends. They all have to have a crystal key. And there's a clue to it. No, the book is really good with the clues and whatnot. And so they opened it up, but right at the end, something happens, and I can't remember if it's the catalyst or what. I think it is that they set off, and it kills everybody, because IOI can just log back into any brand new guy. They got all the money or whatever and go back in there and handle it. It still takes time to travel there. I guess you could teleport, but once it wipes everything out. I don't know how that happened, but they wiped everything out, and then the extra life he gets from the Pac-Man game that he did, and that's how he comes back and goes through the final thing by himself. And he still has, they're in a private chat, so he's, it's kind of cool. Percival still has H, and even though H has been zeroed out, Artemis is zeroed out, and Show is zeroed out, they can still talk to him, and they see what he sees, because it turns in the I think it is in the movie too, but in the book, every single Oasis user, it zooms into Percival's, what he's seeing. While he goes,
movie too.
While he goes through the final thing. But like I said, it was several things. It's beat Holiday at Tempest, and then you got to play the Holy Grail. And it's funny, even in the book, they're kind of feeding him a couple of lines, and it's just kind of funny how they're kind of hanging. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to give all y'all a piece of it if we win this or whatever." It's just funny. And then he has to do the adventure to find that final Easter egg. But as he's going along there in the book, IOI is there through the gate too, and they're starting to do it. And of course, they got people in their ear, so they're trying to catch up with him. They're playing Tempest at the same time, and whoever's going to be the first one to finish it, gets a little bit of a head start. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty intense in the book as far as books go. But anyway, so I'm going to reveal the H character because the book was a lot better for the reveal. Is that cool?
That's fine. Yeah.
So at some point, so this kind of ties into the part. Ogden Morrow in the book has a lot bigger role. They get shut down. They get spotted by IOI in the book. They all know where they live, so they don't know what to do. And then Ogden Morrow pops into the private server that he's been in there the whole time listening. It turns out, because he wanted somebody like that to win. And he tells them, "Y'all come to my house, and you can all hook up to the best equipment, and we can get you guys into Oasis to finish this final key and to start to lead this revolution, basically." There is no revolution. Like, what's her name? Samantha says, "Welcome to the revolution, Wade." There's no such thing in the book. There's no revolution against IOI or anything. It's just but anyway. So they go there. Ogden Morrow pulls them in there. They get there. But in order to get there, they got to go to his house. And so Samantha, he has not met Artemis in real life yet. So he's about to meet Artemis in real life. It's just a big build-up. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like toward, I think, 3/4 of the book is done. You're like, oh, he's going to meet Artemis finally. You don't know what anybody looks like or anything. And then H is his best friend and all this. And then he's like, I can't get there because of whatever. And H says, I can come pick you up in my van. And he goes, okay, cool. So we'll do that. I'll ride with H. And as they're walking off, H goes, hey, but I'm not who you think I am. And you're like, what? What? This guy's been the coolest person forever. And so anyway, when they pull up, H is actually a African-American female that picks him up in the van. And you're like, oh, okay. And then at first they're kind of shocked. And then they're like, it's real dramatic in the book. He walks in, opens the van up, and goes in there. So H is not a dude. But anyway, they jump right back into it, get along right away. Drive to Ogden Morrow's house, get out, and you're like, oh my gosh, go see Artemis, man. And he's just like, where's Artemis? Oh, she's already strapped in doing something else. And you're like, oh my gosh, when am I going to see her? And so he has to get strapped in. They got to do another little mission or whatever, and you finally get it revealed. And she has the little birthmark on her face or whatever. But it was pretty cool in the book how that's revealed.
That's cool. So in the movie, what I liked about it in the movie is earlier on when Percival and Artemis are talking in H's little hangout or whatever. It's his little workstation, because in his workstation you could see the Iron Giant that he's been building and all that. Just really cool. It's a lot of fun. Well, Percival, after she gets her bike fixed by H, because he's like the master mechanic, he can fix anything. She gets her bike fixed and then she leaves. H starts ribbing him and says, she could be somebody, she could be a big old fat guy sitting there behind a keyboard, and you're falling in love for this big old fat guy named Chuck, and her real name is Chuck, just giving him a hard time. Well, they kind of build that up and you're like, oh my gosh, so what does she look like? Well, you get to see her before you see H in the movie. You see her, she's got the birthmark because of, you meet her at the rebellion, and Percival's like, I still think you're a pretty girl, and yada yada, which means she is a cute girl and all that, so they no big deal there. She has the birthmark. Well, as Samantha is saving Wade from getting captured, and she pushes him through the door, and he goes through that door, as people are walking out, this African-American girl walks up to walks up to Percival, says, come on, and it sounds like you hear some of the similarities in the voice, and he's like, who are you? And she goes, H, Helen. They call, that's what my dad calls me, H instead of Helen. And then they jump in the van and they go off, and it's like,
did you know it was her because of the voice right away?
I kind of assumed it, because it was like, I heard that little bit of sample there, because it's I could tell that the voice from the H character was muffled.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I knew it right away. I've read the book, of course, so I knew who it was. But when I heard the voice of the H character, I was like, oh, man. It's obvious if you've read, if you think about it for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't read the book, and when that happened, the whole thing of, there's going to be this big fat guy named Chuck, and that's who Artemis is.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, they're going to change the tables. It's not going to be Artemis. That's way too obvious.
Yeah.
Because what I loved about it is the symbolism played in there. So video games, when they first went online, guys played as guys, girls played as girls. That's how you knew you were playing against a guy or a girl. That's just how it was. And if you played as a girl, you were considered a pervert, creeper, whatever. Just, you had the stigma of, why are you playing as a girl, Because I remember the first time I met somebody that played a girl and was actually a guy in real life, and I'm like, that's just creepy, man. Why are you doing that? Don't be a creeper. That's kind of how I felt about it, and that's, I still kind of feel weird about playing a girl character online, being a guy. I just don't think that's cool. But I'm an old school person, so that's just kind of there. So it's just kind of funny how they played into that, because they feed it as Artemis is the person that's playing as a girl and not a girl, when in fact it's H playing as a guy and she's a girl, So that was a really fun little twist. And then in that same instant, Z is in the van with H, or I'm sorry, Z. They call him Z. They call him God, I can't even say his name now. Percival. Mm-hmm. They just call him C for short. Percival. He gets in the van and he looks back there, and Dido's there. And they're like, oh, that's Dado. Cool. That makes sense. He's a Japanese guy playing a samurai character. That makes a lot of sense. And then he turn around and Sho is in there too. And he's kind of taken aback, and Sho goes, yeah, I know, I'm 11-year-old. And so it's like, because in the movie, you don't hear Sho speak very much, and when he does speak, it doesn't sound like a squeaker. So, I would have thought they would have made him at least a squeaker just to kind of be funny. But he's an 11-year-old, and it's so funny because Percival goes, but you're the most awesome 11-year-old ever. You're like the best 11-year-old gamer ever, because he's been following him around. And in the movie, Dado and Sho are friends, and they're kind of acquaintances of H. H kind of tells them how to get the first key, and then they just kind of tag along for all the others after that. So it's just funny because that whole reveal to me I thought was a little special because it's the symbolism of
I thought that was
guys
good.
playing against girls and girls playing against guys. So that was really fun.
Squeaker.
Yeah.
So go ahead and let's go into the ending. We'll go ahead and start wrapping this thing up. But I know there's a lot we could say about it.
There's so many that we can cover, and I really feel like that we might even do another follow-up on one after we watch it again a couple more times because there's just so many things in this movie.
So the ending was kind of weird in the book. And there's a minor differences. There's one major difference I'll talk about. But just to sum it up in the book, where he goes in the movie, where he finally finishes it, and then he goes in like a Halliday's a dungeon where it opens up and there's gold or whatever everywhere, and he's like, sign this contract, and he's like, Halliday would never let me would never require a contract or something, and he's like, oh, I just wanted to test you, and I think that happens in the book, I'm not sure, but then he goes to Halliday's room, and he's showing this is me when I was young. I don't think that happened in the book. I think he's just in like an office. Nobody can watch him in the office, and they just telling him. And Halliday's there and says, "Here's what you get." Blah 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 blah. Which is different in the book. In the book, he gets obviously all the Oasis shares, all of the total control of the Oasis, which means this is really cool. He gets complete administrative authority over any program. He can go anywhere. He can get himself anything. He's just basically the god of the game now. They don't really go into that in the, but he automatically gets all that access. I don't know if it has that red button that shuts it down.
I love that. Funny. I love that.
I can't remember. Maybe he does in the book. I can't remember. But
the very first thing in the movie, Holiday shows him is like, this is the red button that will shut everything down. Don't press it. He slips and almost presses it. He's like, your first day and you almost shut everything down.
Not to shut down the Oasis on your first day.
Yeah.
It's this way he talks.
Yeah, Holiday is very autistic sounding, so like he talks with a very kind of slow style talk and very methodical. But that was just hilarious. I love that.
So the weird thing in that book, in the movie, I'm going to get, every time I mean to say book, I say movie. Every time I mean to say movie, I say book. But anyway, in the movie, first of all, it's still an avatar. But Holiday is not. He's a normal guy, and he starts to walk out with his little little kid self playing Atari on the floor, and they start to walk out, and Holiday's opening the door for his little kid self, and then Percival goes, "Wait, you're not an avatar, are you?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Are you? Did you really die?" And he goes, "Yep." And he goes, "What are you?" And he goes, "Bye, Percival," or something like that, and leaves. It's so. I don't know if it's meant to be just super open-ended like that or what.
Well, I think it is because they're gonna. I have this fear, and I hope they don't, but they're gonna make a second one, and it leaves it open for that. And it turns out there's probably going to be another Easter egg hunt for finding a Holiday, and you have to actually find Holiday. That's just kind of just a random thought that just popped in my head when that happened, because. When I watched the movie and I finished watching it, the first thing I did was text Hollywood and said, "Dude, this is such an intriguing line from the movie. What are you?" Because there's so many things there that there's like, are you a real person? Did you suck your conscience into the Oasis? So many different things that you can think of, because it's like the Matrix. Are you a part of this now? Is this you? Is this living world, this virtual reality world, is this you? It just was so crazy, and there's so many thoughts.
He mentions too that live real life, because that's the only life that's real, or something like that. So that would I didn't know what it meant, because he could always just pop in a new movie. Oh, Holiday never really died. You can come up with a million storylines for that. I don't think that's what it would be for.
Well, that line that
symbolism.
Well, that line that you said was very profound too. Live life. Because this isn't real, and that's circled throughout the entire movie, because Holiday never lived real life. He lived life in the games that he played, in the Oasis that he created, and he never took the jump. And the second challenge in the movie is all about taking the big leap. The big leap was to dance with Karen, was to make the first move, to kiss Karen,
Yeah.
And he never took the leap, and Karen ends up marrying Ogden Morrow. And Holiday's biggest regret is never taking the leap. And that's a big symbolism in life, because just a lot of times people are too afraid to take the leap. Sometimes the leap can be as little as kissing that girl that's in front of you and she turns out to be your wife. Or it could be as little as picking up that penny because you bent down and dodged a bullet. There's so many things and so many crazy symbolisms, ways that become a symbolism for anybody. And I just thought that made the movie so much more real and impactful, not because of all of the awesome nostalgia that's throughout it. I mean, they've got everything in there, literally. I mean, RoboCop's even in there. So I mean, just so
that's
many
how
different.
It's everything. You got RoboCop.
Oh yeah, you got RoboCop, man. It's everything. Well, I mean,
Murphy.
One crazy thing is I know you're not going to know this, because if you do, I'm gonna freak out. This is gonna be awesome. But when he dressed up in the movie and he's wearing the Buckaroo Banzai outfit, Buckaroo Banzai is this terrible, terrible, terrible movie. But it's pop culture movie it's terrible. When I first started working at UMC and I moved over to DIS with the buddies that I work with, the first movie they told me to watch was Buckaroo Banzai. I hate them to this day for making me watch the movie, because the movie's terrible. But it's pop culture. It's major pop culture. It like very dark pop culture and very deep pop culture. And it represents just that little piece there. I mean, they've got those little pieces like that, but just that whole symbolism of live your life. The life outside of this is more precious than in here. And the fact that once the high fivers took over, one of their first rules was to close it down on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think they said in the movie. Yeah. Like nobody can be in the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just so they can spend time with the people they love and care about. And I think that's awesome, and I think that's something that we as people right now take for granted. We take for granted our families a lot of the times. We don't spend that time with them that we need to. We look for those reality escapes all the time. And I saw this just through this whole movie as just one big, huge symbolism of everything, because gaming's become popular again, majorly popular, and so many people play it. And it strikes me too, because my boss, he's been sending me updates about his son playing Fortnite. His son is starting to get in the top 250 of the world in Fortnite. It's amazing. But he's spending all of his time on that and not spending time with his parents, with his brother, with his grandmother that's aging, and he's losing out on things.
Yep.
And that's what hit me when I hear all this, is like, man, the things that we miss out if we focus on things that are not a part of our real life. So it's just, there's a lot of profound things in there too, and I don't want to get too deep in that because we're already creeping up on an hour and a half.
Yeah, I remember that. I agree with that. I mean, I just wondered what's it got to do with him being still alive in the or whatever he was. We don't know what he was. Was he just a reality programmed guy? I mean, I don't know. It's just, well, he said he's not an avatar, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think he dumped his consciousness in there. That's just my feeling. That's
so that gets real sci-fi then.
It's still Spielberg, though.
Yeah. So
Spielberg's got to put his touch in it somewhere, so it fits if that's what happened. So sorry for rambling on that. That was just some.
No, that's what I was asking, man.
I really like that.
That's great. I mean, that is the moral of the movie. It's good to have a movie with a moral these days. Most of them don't have that.
It's good to have a movie with feeling. I mean, this movie had feeling. I mean, you got in touch with things in there. It's just, like I said, it was an actual movie that kind of pulled you in. Although it was, in a way, a superficial movie because of all the nostalgia and just skimming the top of everything. But it had its deeper level into it, and I really liked that. So it made it so much more enjoyable than just going to see a movie. Like next week, I'm going to go see Avengers.
Yep.
It's not going to pull me in like this did.
Yeah, it is.
This don't get me wrong. I love Avengers, but I'm not going to walk away saying, "Oh, the moral of this movie is yada yada yada." I'm going to be like, You know,
well, we can all relate to the Ready Player One.
This one, exactly. You've got
take a thrill roller coaster ride with Avengers. You know, which is going to be great. I'm excited about it.
Oh, I'm super excited about Avengers, but Avengers is a movie that is just kind of like, okay, that's an awesome movie, just blockbuster, mind-blowing. To me, Ready Player One was just another movie that it was going to be out, maybe be pretty cool. Okay, Spielberg did it, so that must be mean. It must have something good about it. And then I watch the movie and I walk out like thinking, wow, there's like a deeper meaning in this movie than just, okay, Ready Player One, it's based on this book that talks about virtual reality and yada yada yada. You know, there was just so much more pulled out.
I can imagine going into it without knowing exactly what to expect and then being blown. I mean, I liked it and I knew exactly what to expect.
I had no idea what to expect. I was just thinking, okay, this is going to be a game. This is going to be a movie about virtual reality. That's all I thought. And then walking out of it, it's just like, wow, you know. And Hollywood probably can attest to it because I'm sending him texts right there at the end, just going like, oh my gosh, just, you know, because I was so blown away by the movie. I really liked it a lot, especially considering that I didn't think I was even going to care for watching it. So,
well, cool. Let us know what you guys think. I mean, seriously, what do you? If you saw the movie, well, I hope you did. If you've listened to this podcast, because we just pretty much just told you the whole movie.
Oh, we blew it all out for you.
Which I'm going to put major spoilers in the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and do a voiceover at the beginning of this one, telling everybody it's major spoilers. But you know, let us know what you think about the ending. What does that mean? You know, what was your take on it? Because I'm thinking it's just open for interpretation, and obviously, you know, we get the realities, what's real, and you know, don't spend too much time in the game and all this. But what is the meaning for him not being an avatar and being real into this world and walking through the final door? I mean, you can come up with whatever, but pretty cool, great movie. I like the book as well. It's real immersing. I probably will end up getting this movie. I always buy the ones. I hadn't bought a Blu-ray in a while, but probably will end up buying this one.
Definitely will buy this one.
And re-experiencing that again. And
wow. I can't wait to show this to my son, because to me, it's just got a lot in there to kind of say, hey, check this out and take this lesson for what it's worth. Don't let something consume you so much that you don't get a chance to see your real life. Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. That'll wrap this one up. Just don't forget to let us know what you think about that movie. And before I go, the contest. I meant to do this at the beginning. So the contest, the only Genesis game I own. Just send me the name of that test. I'll send you a free game. And I've had a lot of people, a couple people, hit me up and say, I think I know what it is, but I'm going to let somebody else get it. I think I know what it is, but I'm going to let somebody else get it. Guys, this is we gave away a SNES Classic or SNES Mini to somebody that probably will never hear the podcast. So we want to give this back to you guys that have been listening and have been downloading it and listening right away. So this is what this contest is for you all. So please, if you know it, don't feel bad about letting somebody else get it. Let me know what it is. And if you're right, we'll send you the game. It's fine. That's what it's for. It's for the loyal listeners.
Exactly. And I'm fixing to call somebody out for this one.
Okay.
So it's somebody that we game with, or that we did in the Destiny days, and he's been wanting to get the game, but he's not able to right now for whatever reasons. And I told him to go listen to the podcast. So Gooniemon, here's your chance right here to win this game so you can start playing Monster Hunter World with us. Quit griping and complaining. We're giving you your chance right here. Come listen to us. Oh yeah, I'm calling you out. I'm flat out calling you out, because I don't want to hear you complain about not being able to get the game when we're offering it to you for free if you can just guess this game. All you have to do is listen to like 3 podcasts and you get this game.
Oh, you just listen to one. You said I picked the right one.
Exactly. If you pick the right one, but you got to listen to one that's laying out the challenge. Because now I'm going to call you out, and you got to listen to this one.
And check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We'll write the descriptions and in the message, and follow us. We posted a lot of funny stuff on there. We each got our own Instagram and Twitter, and then we also have the HnK one. And so I'll post those in there, and you'll post them on the page. Every time we drop one, it automatically posts to Facebook. Kleer gets on there and posts it to the top of the page, puts any extra information in there, such as the aforementioned group social media pages.
And don't forget, you can look our podcast up on iTunes, on Google Play. You can do it on YouTube. Podbean, you've got plenty of options, and we're still waiting approval on Spotify. So as soon as we get approval on that, then we'll be on Spotify. But I put it in, and it's under review still. So we should be getting it hopefully in the next couple of weeks. You'll be able to get us on Spotify. I mean, we're making it as easy as possible for you to listen to us, guys. Just give us a listen. And if you want to search for us, it's pretty easy. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. Search for us on Facebook. All you have to do is type in your search bar in Facebook the letter H, the letter N, the letter K, the letter E, the letter X, then the letter P. And you should be able to find us that easy.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much, guys.